The Tiny Detectives. Cresida Cowell. Can wolves see in the dark? There are 5 puffins like this one hiding in this book. Can find them all? So this is Tyga, Beetle, Ollie, Mom, and Bo. Meet the tiny detectives. Are very little indeed. They are also very curious. That's why they live in a bookcase, because even the tiniest people can find answers to big questions if they dive into a book. And that is exactly what the tiny detectives do best. Dad. One wintry night, Tyga, who was the middle one in the tiny detective family, asked a big question. Can wolves see in the dark? Let's jump into a book and find out the answer, said Dad. Put on your warmest clothes, everyone. So the tiny detective climbs the bookcase and Mom picked out a book called Life in the Arctic. Ollie wound the red story thread around his waist so they could get back out of the story when they reached the end of their adventure. And they leaped right through the star and the deep dark night of an Arctic winter, and on the back of a big wolf padding softly through the snow. It's cold, shivered Bo. Beetle and I don't like the cold. Huddle up, everyone, said Mom. We'll keep each other warm. It was very dark, for the clouds were covering the moon. All they could see from the wolves' back were their eyes of the other wolves in the pack, glowing and shining. The wolves have a special light reflecting membrane on their eyes that helps them see in the dark, whispered Dad. And that's also what makes their eyes glow. Suddenly, the wolf they were riding stopped and crouched down low. You see, I bet these wolves have spotted something to eat, whispered Mom. In the endless night of an Arctic winter, the wolves have to be able to see in the dark, otherwise they would go hungry. Sure enough, at that moment, the moon and the thousands of pinprick bright stars came out. From behind the clouds, so the tiny detectives could see what the wolves were looking at. Way in the distance, a herd of reindeer were grazing. Okay, so now we know wolves can see in the dark, said Bo. Nervously, shall we go home? Too late. The largest reindeer looked up. It gave a warning bellow and started to run. The reindeer have spotted the wolves, said Dad. Everyone hang on tight. The great wolf gave a leap beneath them running after the reindeer with such suddenness that Tyga's glasses fell off. Tyga grabbed for them and lost her balance. Oh no, cried Dad. Tyga's falling off. We have to rescue her. So very bravely, the rest of the tiny detective family jumped off the running wolf's back. And luckily landed in a soft drift of snow. The clouds drifted in front of the moon again, and the tiny detectives were back in the darkness. How will we find Tyga? Said Bo. Tyga was lost, all alone in the night of the Arctic winter, with no family and no story thread to get her out of the adventure. She had found her glasses though. Tyga! But even with glasses on, tiny detectives cannot see in the dark. However, they can hear Tyga, shouted the tiny detective at the top of their tiny voices. As they ran back where she'd fallen off, and hearing their voice, Tyga ran through the dark towards them, until at last she could see them ahead of her. Ollie gave 3 bug tugs on the story thread, and the tiny detectives were pulled up through the snow and the stars and the Arctic midnight moon, back to the warmth of their own bookcase. Mom mended Tiga's glasses, which had got bent in the fall, and passed them to her as they all sat down to dinner. "Another case solved for the tiny detectives," said Dad with satisfaction. "Wolves can see in the dark, and I can see my dinner," laughed Tiga. "You, where are we going?" the girl asked the wolf as she climbed onto its back. "Can you find Beetle?" "Here." Okay, the end.